or after. Okay. Are we live or do we have to do anything for that?
Says it's live.
Okay, it says it's now streaming. Okay.
We are live.
Everybody, thank you, Ashley, or Kate. Thank you, everyone, and welcome to the April 23rd, I get the date right, Budget and Finance meeting. You'll have to excuse me, it's been kind of a long day already, so if I'm a little brain dead, you'll understand why. So let's get started, and I guess first order of business is to do the Pledge of Allegiance, so let's go ahead and do that. Hey, Joe. Pledge allegiance to the flag, United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, liberty and justice for all. Play ball. All righty then. Joe, how are you, Joe?
Doing great today, and yourself?
Hanging in there. Okay, let's do a quick look at the agenda for today's meeting. And we're sharing. So, opening ceremonies are completed, adoption of this agenda. We'll talk about here in a moment. We have some meeting minutes, organizational task I'll bring forward. And then we're going to review the full year, including March 2021 budget performance, discuss anything relating to the new budget that's been finalized, and then spend a few minutes on some new revenue opportunities and kick off that discussion, which we'll spend more time on in the next few meetings. Can I have a motion to accept the agenda as written?
So moved.
Second. All in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Thank you. Let's adopt the agenda. And then we'll go to the meeting minutes from our March meeting. All righty. We had a pretty meaty discussion there. I think we were finalizing the budget for the coming year at that point, and we made a few small adjustments, discussed a little bit about the lodging tax, and made a few minor adjustments just before sending it on to the commissioners, who I believe approved it with a few changes. Gary or Bill, can you refresh my memory as to what changes were made in the adoption of the budget?
I'm having trouble remembering changes. Maybe Bill Soper may be in a better position to do that.
I think the money from the hotel tax, lodging tax, was directed to, was it infrastructure?
No,
1/2.
Yes, and it's going to a capital improvement fund. That's
capital improvement.
I couldn't remember if we did that then or we did that later.
Okay. But the budget was approved with those changes and pretty much, went through as we had recommended with just a few minor up. Oh, I know. The final amount for the across the board raises was set at 3%,
right,
instead of 4%. So those were the only substantive changes to the budget. Does anybody have any?
Dave,
yeah, Bill.
And Dave, in addition to that, and Bill can give more detail that the commissioners approved capital expenditures associated with the new phone system, a new gator for service around town, and I believe it also a new tractor. But those aren't necessarily, they're not on the operating budget, but because we had an excess of funds in the prior year, there were capital improvements that the town needed. Just an FYI.
Right. Thank you, Bill. Sure. That's
Dave?
Yeah. Yes, Bill.
Also, the T2 system for code enforcement was also approved as part of that. And that was a big chunk. That was, I believe, $32,000.
Very good. Okay. So those are, relating to the capital budget items that are being taken out of the surplus for the fiscal year 2021, right? Yes. Okay. All right. That brings us up to date. Can I Any changes or modifications to the minutes as written? If none, can I have a motion to accept the draft minutes?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any nays? Okay, adopted. Thank you. Thank you. This is going smooth as silk. Okay, next thing is to take a look at the current fiscal year as now we're now completed with the March financials being added. Let me bring that up. If I can find it. There we go. I'm going to bring up financial summary 2. And everyone see that?
Yes.
Okay. As we all know, we finished the year with a significant surplus due largely to transfer tax being 245% is it of budget, which is more than double. And Sheena or Bill, what's the final surplus, non-audited, of course, at this point?
So year-to-date difference at the very end was 493,946. That's what I have, Sheena.
493K. Okay, right. And Sheena, you had put out a memo a couple of days ago saying there were a few things that are included in there that knocked it down a few thousand, but we all knew it would be just shy of 500,000, and certainly a good performance overall, for the year. So I don't have any particular issues in mind to talk about here. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the fiscal year performance, understanding that it's not yet audited and it will go through that process in the next several months? But of course, as usual, we don't expect much variance. Any questions on this budget performance? Okay. Good job, everyone in Town Hall, and managing to the budget. And, we had a good year, and we'll hope for a similar outcome this coming. Very good. All right. Moving on to the next topic. It's going to be a great short meeting. Let's talk about, because we know Bill Zolper has to get out of here at 4:30 anyway. I'm going to make sure we make that time. Now, if I can find.
That'll be a record, Dave.
I'm working on it. If I can find the budget. Hold on a second. Let me make sure I've got it here. I can close out another document. Too many windows open. Sorry, guys. I thought I had this open, but now I can't find it. Take me just a minute. Okay. So here is the budget as approved. Let me just now share. Here we go. Okay. Again, no big surprises here. I think that, most of the buckets are what we had anticipated. We have a fiscal year 21, 22, and the final column is a fiscal year 22. So we have a total revenues of 3.8 million estimated. Total expenses of $3.789 with a projected slight surplus of $24,715. Again, we've been over this, quite a few times, and with the notations made earlier about the adjustments made during the council meeting. Does anyone have any questions or comments about the budget that we're looking at here? Okay. Let's then move on to the third topic, which is discussion of new revenue streams for the town. I'll bring up a couple of items that I had here.
Hey, Dave, I just got a text from Zeke.
Okay.
Dave,
Is he having a
I got
hard
a text
time?
from Zeke. I think he's trying to get in. Ashley, is he in the waiting room?
He's not. There's no one waiting at this time.
Okay. Well, Zeke.
He was on the right page when I talked to him, you know, a couple of minutes beforehand. I guess he's just having a hard time gaining access.
I'll send him a message to ensure he has the correct login.
That would
Yeah.
be good. Thank you. Okay. This goes back to one of our earlier meetings and talking about new potential revenue streams for the town. I'd like to just review this today and then have everybody think about and come up with some ideas. And in our next meeting, we'll really drill down on this and spend some time, you know, looking at opportunities and come up with a priority list and, you know, continue that discussion over the next couple of meetings. The hotel accommodate or lodging tax, as it's properly called, has been enacted and is now a current revenue stream for us. And it will commence, the first revenue I believe we'll receive is in August for the July start of that lodging tax. Bill Zoper, do you have any insight as to whether there are any issues or impediments to the hotels and, you know, preparing to and collecting that tax?
So, thank you, Dave. As of right now, none. I have received one complaint from one hotel owner that said that they were not aware of this and they found out about it through the Cape Gazette. I double checked with Ashley, you know, at the direction of the commissioners. Once this was passed, there was a letter sent out to all the hotel owners advising them as of July 1st, you know, there would be an increase of 1.5, or there would be a tax of 1.5 for their residents at the hotels. You know, for people that had already booked, the hotels are gonna have to explain the situation. So that's the only feedback that I've gotten on it so far. I don't know if either one of the commissioners have gotten anything else.
Collecting that tax?
So, thank you, Dave. As of right now, none. I have
Somebody, whoever has the YouTube running, please close the YouTube link.
I double checked with Ashley, you know, at the direction.
If you have the YouTube link running, would you close it down?
All the hotel owners advising them as of July 1st, you know, there would be an increase of 1.5, or there would be a tax of 1.5.
Come on, Zeke.
I think he's on the YouTube. Zeke, can you close down your YouTube channel? Because we're getting a feedback on that. Okay, yeah, Bill Stevens, yes, Bill.
Yeah, I spoke to several of the hotel owners, and they, you know, they knew about the tax. They were not necessarily happy about it, but you know, no one's ever you know happy about that three-letter word. Their only complaint I heard, and it's more of a conversation for you guys to have internally as to if and when we were to increase that rate. The complaint I got was that to have the tax start mid-season was very difficult for them, as Bill Zoper was, or town managers commenting, because they've already received bookings. And so you may want to just have a conversation on if we're going to increase it to 3% next year, when would be the appropriate time given when they start taking bookings. So just something for you guys to consider as you start to put the budget together and understand the numbers.
Did they suggest a time? Like September 30th or January 1st or?
They didn't suggest a time, but I you know, it led me to believe, I don't know. You know, it's a good question, Lynn, and I will ask the guys that I talked to and the people I talked to as to, you know, when they start to take bookings for next year, and I can report back.
Thanks. Bill Zoper?
The one hotel individual I spoke with said January 1st.
Yeah.
Okay.
That probably is, you know, makes sense. And, you know, we did it this year to allow them some leeway before the tax kicked in. I think that was done, you know, purposely, but we'll take it under advisement. And if in the future the town recommends, you know, increasing that rate, we'll make sure that we give input that it should be, you know, out of season, perhaps January 1st as a starting point.
Okay.
Dave,
Yes,
Dave, just a quick point. The tax can only go up at 0.5% a year, up to the maximum of 3%.
Okay, that's good. And if and when we take that up, in the next year or so, we'll abide by those rules, of course. Very good. Okay, so the hotel lodgings tax is enacted and off our radar here for a new revenue stream, obviously, but it'll provide some significant income to the town, and which we can use for all the appropriate things. There was a bullet here about increasing building permit, license fees, parking fees. I think, did we do any increases this year for any of these fees, or is that did that not make it into this year's?
I'm not aware of any increases unless the commissioners or Sheena are aware.
Okay. And so that's another potential revenue stream. And we had talked extensively about different options for that and the fact that many of the fees and license fees had not been increased in quite some time. Perhaps next year's Budget and Finance Committee will take that up again and do a further analysis. I think we did enough to figure out that, things like outside town business licenses, if they were increased similar to the in-town, we would gain up to $80,000, $90,000. But we'll take that up at the appropriate time, which would be for the next budget cycle, of course, if not further down the line. We had also talked about a Bayside infrastructure tax and comparable perhaps to the beach tax. There's legislative requirement for that. And so that's a longer term issue that we'll further discuss as we get into several of these these points over time. There had been some discussion about reorganizing the costs for lifeguards under the beach tax fund. And I know we had some back and forth about whether that was possible to do. Again, we'll go back over those and think about, whether that's feasible and desirable over time. If we were able to move the cost of the lifeguards over under the beach tax fund, which it can more than cover, that would free up, $300,000 to $350,000 a year in operating costs. So that would be a very significant savings for the towns or reallocation for the town for the operating budget. But we'll talk about that as we come up with new things. So those are the things that we had talked about, and not, I think, maybe the first meeting or two of this budget committee. What I'd like to suggest is that the next meeting will try to get a little more structure around each of these discussions, and also if anyone has some suggestions, I would hope that the things that you will come with ideas are potential opportunities, not the kind of things that are going to bring us in $1,000 or $2,000, which, we should not address those, but, we're looking for, significant revenue opportunity and streams for the town. So, think in terms of things that will raise $25,000, $50,000 or more per year if you can. And so we'll do some brainstorming in the next meeting and see if we can start to hone a list of things and put them in a time scale and when we might think they would be appropriate to implement, what size they would be, and some sense of priority. And we'll do that over the next couple of meetings, and we'll eventually get to the point, probably in the summer or near the end of this season, that we'll refine and then submit them to the council as one of our final work products for the budget year. That's all I wanted to cover for today. It's 4:23. This is a new world's record. Anyone have any other comments or feedback you'd like to offer for today that we haven't talked about?
I have one question.
Sure.
On the building permits, is there a register that the committee member or one of us we wanted to just review the building permits that we could look at, or is that something we have to do at City Hall, or what's the required method of doing that?
I thought it was on the website.
The monthly building permit report is listed on the town website.
Okay. And
if you go to building,
that shows all building permits that have been issued
up to the previous month. So as each month closes out, we generally get it posted about the second week of the following month.
Okay, and what's the longevity? How long does that last? For a fiscal year, or is it?
I have to double check, but I believe it goes back about 4 years, 4 or 5 years.
Okay, great.
Very good. Okay, with no further business to attend to, can I have a motion to adjourn?
Move to adjourn.
Thanks for joining, Zeke. Can I have a second?
Finally got it.
Second.